Welcome back to Investing and Trading Live. Once again, I am your host, Josh Lilquist, with my good friend and my good pal, Mr. Al Connickson. On the last segment, going into some different techniques and strategies on how to capitalize based off of not the news, but based off of actual price action, how to manage your capital, how to kind of take the news and just take it as a grain of salt. It's entertainment for us, not placing your financial decisions based off what you see on TV, but also following the institutions, following what they are doing, because the big money, the institutions, they actually move the market. It takes millions and billions of dollars to actually move. What are they doing? Where are they doing it? And then wrapping around capital management into zones. So you don't have to be exactly right on the price on where to buy, on where to sell. You have a zone. That's how you manage your risk. And then you have a target. So you know where you're going to get in, but you're also going to know where you get out prior to getting into any trade or investment. So that's why we have these investing classes as well, to show this strategy, introduce this strategy to people that are either brand new to the markets, have never traded before, or people that have been investing and trading for several years but want to have more consistency. And that's what it's all about in the financial markets, is having more consistency, basing decisions off of facts, but being comfortable doing that. That's a couple of the C's that we talk about, the three C's. So we had a lot of people texting and calling in for these investing classes that I'm going to give away seats to. And if you did miss that, if you're driving, you might want to pull over. Simply call or text the word trading to the number 952-905-0975 for 2 seats for an investing class near you. You can call or text the word trading to the number 952-905-0975. We'll make sure we get you a seat in an area next to you, and that way when you're coming into these classes, you're prepared, but also it's close to your house. So Al, we keep mentioning week after week, we're going to make this the global #1 financial podcast that's out there. We do appreciate, we've been having a slew of investors and traders that want to understand more about these markets that are listening to these all across the states. Minnesota, Florida, Arizona, there's a lot of people listening, California, New York. So we appreciate all these new subscribers. If you haven't subscribed and you're listening, make sure to smash that subscribe button and follow and get an update. Hit the bell so that way when anytime we do a show, you can get an update if we're doing it live. So in this next segment, Al, the assets that are available to us, there's more than just the stock market. You have stock, you have options, you have Forex, you have futures. And we were mentioning in the last segment on being able to follow what the institutions are doing. What most people are doing is buying mutual funds, which is sad because there's a huge cost that comes along with mutual funds. But that's what they're given, and that's the opportunities that they have. Now, institutions, they're not buying mutual funds, but they're selling them to you. Now, another thing that may be new is they make the majority of their money off of what they call fixed income assets. And basically it's futures and Forex and options, because they're using the leverage and utilizing that buying power so they can be more efficient with their capital. And these markets are huge, much larger than the stock market, which brings more opportunity and liquidity, because when they're moving big money, they actually need the liquidity to get in and out of their positions. That's also available to us. Now, why, in your opinion, Al, is it so important to know? Obviously, it's not bad to know the stock market. Mm-hmm. It's an opportunity for people, but it requires the most amount of capital and time, because it's only open 6.5 hours a day, 8:30 until 3 o'clock Central Time Zone. Why is it so important to know multiple asset classes, to have the opportunities for income strategies, but also strategies for your wealth accounts as well?
Well, the bottom line is that the way you approach the markets for income and the way you approach it for wealth are different. You know, you mentioned stocks as being a good investment. Stocks are fantastic for your long-term wealth, for your retirement accounts, but you have to manage what you do. You don't just put money into something and then just let it ride. But what about income? What about money you need while you're still working, additional money? And having something that's more long-term isn't going to help you short-term. So there are assets that are ideal for short-term trading that not only will allow you to have the opportunity to get in and to get out of something short-term with your profit, but also to maximize the impact or the value of each dollar that you have in a portfolio. And we're talking about leverage. Options, futures, and Forex have leverage, and that's why the pros use them. Most people think that Warren Buffett just buys stocks or buys companies, but Warren Buffett makes $8 to $10 billion a year trading one of these leveraged assets. But he doesn't really talk about that. And most brokerage firms won't, because think about it. If you have an advisor that has maybe 300 or 400 clients, and they are going to put you into something that you get into and out of maybe daily, weekly, monthly, it's not possible to manage that many portfolios on a short-term basis like that. So the go-to is to put you into something that, here's been the go-to, it's been that 60-40 split. 60% in stocks, 40% in fixed income like bonds or treasuries. Well, that might have worked at one period in time, but it's not working now, especially when you look at that fixed income part. And by the way, when you get closer to retirement, that number switches from 60% equities, 40% fixed income to 60% fixed income, 40% equities.
Yeah.
So if 60% of your income is making 2 to 3% a year, that does not bode very well when you think about the impact of inflation and you think about the fees that are taken out. So,
Al, I want to just talk about that real quick before we go to a solution on that. Because if you're being put into a basket and you have goals or objectives financially in the same basket or same strategy as somebody that has totally different goals or objectives, that helps you, that doesn't help you actually. Right. So that's the problem. And if you talk to anybody, and that's what everybody's being put into, and the majority of the thing, and this is the stats that are out there, the majority of people don't have enough to retire.
Right.
So there's a big disconnect. So I want you to talk about what is a possible solution to that.
Well, the solution is to understand what the opportunities are in the markets, in the financial markets. In the financial market is not just the stock market and the mutual fund market. You mentioned earlier mutual funds and the fees. If you invest in a mutual fund or an annuity, you're already starting out in the hole because money has been taken away in most cases or many cases up front.
Because you have to buy the mutual fund. You have to buy the annuity.
Right.
Front-end load fees.
Right. And you pay for that. So how do you get enough income that actually is enough for you and at the same time protect your savings? It's going to be different from person to person. There is not one-size-fits-all strategy that everybody should use, but that's what Wall Street has done. They have put everybody pretty much kind of in the same type of strategy. So what we do is look at each person individually. You have to know where you're starting, and everybody kind of understands that. Maybe you're not where you want to be, and in most cases that's not your fault. But where do you want to be? That's the important thing. What's your goal? And if you can identify that goal, that dream, and then look at where you are now, there's going to be a path for you that is the best path for you to follow that might not be the best path for someone else. So that's how we start, putting a plan together. And a plan is going to be what either, if you have a plan, you have, the opportunity to be successful. I think if you don't have a plan, your chances go way down. That plan, part of it, and you mentioned this earlier, is to have an exit before you even place the trade. And by exit, I don't mean just one exit if you have a profit, but there's an exit if you're wrong. You enter a trade, and by the way, the most important component of a trade is the price that you look at when you enter the trade. Mm-hmm. And you have to be precise about that. You have to be very accurate in that price to have the opportunity to have whatever you invest in move the direction that you want it to go, putting odds in your favor. Mm-hmm. But also, before you enter the trade, you need to know what you're going to do if you're wrong and what you're going to do if you're right, to protect your profit if you have one, and also protect your assets if you're wrong.
And that's important in as far as having that within your investment and trading plan, as Al is alluding to. And I want to talk more about that plan, Al, in the next segment, so that way our listeners realize, okay, I can have a plan to get in investments, but also you can have a plan to get out of your investments. And that's what is important, is being able to realize those gains along the way. It's just like your job. You don't go to work for 30, 40, 50 years and wait to get paid at the end. You get paid, whether in some people's cases, weekly, some people's cases bi-weekly or monthly. And that should be the same type of mentality you should have in your investing, is realize those profits, because once you start to grow those, then you're protecting the majority of it. You don't just let it sit there and let it ride. And that's the problem, is people are doing that because that's what they've been told for many, many years by quote unquote they. But we never know who actually Al is they. So we have investing classes. The solution to get started is knowing what's available to you. I want to invite you to an investing class here at the Academy to get started to knowing what's available in your investment accounts. Simply call or text the word trading to the number 952-905-0975. That's 952-905-0975 for 2 seats for an investing class near you. Coming up next, we got a lot more to discuss on these accounts and a plan. This is Josh and Al. We will be right back.